So this is a video that I've been wanting to make for quite a while now. What I'm going to be specifically talking about finally is my job. My first ever job experience. By far, the worst one ever. I don't know if anything else could compare to this. After what I've been through there with their racism and their bigotry, their hypocritical, scummy behavior, I have every right to talk about it once more. Hell, I have every right to talk about it whenever the hell I want. After how they treated me, and the fact that they got away with it, I have every right to talk about it. I'm going to be putting all the pieces together in this video. I know I've talked about some of it, especially with the racism, but now I'm going to go raw dogging, deep action type story. So obviously I'm not going to name what the job is, but I will tell specifically what I did. I'm not going to mention no names. If I do that, I would be stooping to their level, and I'm not going to go there. So I'm going to try my best to remember exactly what went down and how it started and to how it ended. Here goes nothing, I guess. So I ended up working as a dishwasher there. And at start, I had no idea what I was doing, but over time, when I was doing the job for a while, I've gotten quite used to it. But the coworkers, on the other hand, are definitely not something that I could ever get used to. They were, I don't know how to put it without saying anything mean right off the bat. They weren't really all that nice to me. They may act nice when they were talking to me face to face, but behind the scenes, they really have it out on me. So the two coworkers that I first encountered was, I guess the first one was kind of like the assistant manager in a way. I don't know. Like the right-hand man of the job. We're just gonna call her Karen. I don't need to explain why. It should be pretty obvious. And she kind of acts like one, especially, she really does got that Karen energy with the way of how she acts. And I'm gonna call the other guy Lard. Those were the two people I've encountered in the workplace firstly. My first impressions on them, I just rather wanted to focus on the job than do that whole interaction bullshit. It's not something that I'd want to do, not something that I could ever get used to be honest. But unfortunately, with what I was specifically doing for the job, I have to because of the safety precautions when it comes to being in the kitchen. You gotta stay behind whenever you're behind somebody. As goofy as that is, you have to let somebody know that you're behind them, because if you don't, they could have something sharp and they could turn around and accidentally stab you in the chest. Yeah, that is something that could happen. It's not a joke. That definitely took a bit to get used to, but I guess a little later on during the job, I guess I kinda got used to it. When I was still new onto the job, I remember prepping some rice, and I honestly don't know how I made this mistake. I don't remember. I think I was putting something back on the top of the shelf, and something on the shelf ended up dropping, and it ended up pouring a little bit of a pile. It was a small box of salt, and the salt got on the rice. That was a genuine accident. I did not do it intentionally. It was an actual genuine mistake. Instead of telling them the truth, I kind of moved along like nothing ever happened, like it's the wild west, because I had no idea what to do. And later on, Karen ended up seeing that and had a bit of a hissy fit over it, and I gotta say, I deserve that. It is what it is. I'm gonna let that slide for once, because that is technically my fault. It was an accident at the end of the day. So I'm going to let that slide for now. Now, for Lard, on the other hand, that guy, he's kind of a dickhead, to be honest with you. There was this one time where I was looking for something. If any of you can relate that you were trying to remember something with where exactly the specific item that you're looking for is, and it was right there and I didn't even see it. It's like a blind eye type of thing. That's what happened to me when I was looking for something, and this guy just straight up called me a dumbass. Okay, you fucking asshole. But I decided not to get into that confrontational shit, because firstly, I don't do that. Not my thing. It sucks. Nobody wants to get into that at the end of the day. That's the truth as it goes. I sure don't want to get into that, because it just, at the end of the day, it goes nowhere, and you are literally doing it for fucking nothing, and all you're doing by doing that is proving exactly what I think about you. And therefore, you've lost and I've won. Because I'm not out here acting like an insufferable asshole like Lard has, given this case. And keep in mind, those two were definitely way older than me, so I'm gonna assume, based on the way that Lard looks, he was probably probably somewhere near his late 30s, maybe close to 40. But Karen here is definitely 40. Not yet during the timeline of this story. And when I first started working here, I was 19 years old. So yeah, really let that sink in with how they behave and how they react and how they are. But at some point, Lard ended up leaving anyway. Don't know why, and I honestly don't care. And then there was this other guy who was apparently also a dishwasher at the time. He is the same guy that ended up starting the whole shit with my YouTube channel getting exposed to my workplace. He was the one that was being sneaky about it, or at least he likes to think that he's sneaky about it. We're gonna call this guy Snitch, because he is one hell of a snitch. He's one of the two snitches. At first, I thought he was cool. I thought he was decent, until, you know, that happened, which hasn't happened yet until year 2.5, I think, if I were to take a wild guess. That's when he acted sneaky, thinking that he could just get away with it too, thinking that I wasn't gonna find out. The only reason why I knew and why I catched on with what the fuck he was saying was because he sure as hell doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut when I'm around or when I'm nearby. Same thing could be said with literally anybody else there. I almost forgot to mention my boss. Now, when it comes to him, I'd say he's okay, though he can be a bit disingenuous at times, even really especially thinking about it now. We'll get to that later though. I remember that I used to work at the night shifts at times, and of course I was forced to partner up with somebody at the time who was also like the snitch. We're gonna call him the Rat, because he is most certainly the biggest rat that I've ever encountered yet. When I first encountered him, I found him to be odd and kind of suspicious in a way, but I didn't want to think too much of it at the time. I didn't want to assume that already right off the spot like I usually do with people. I decided to give him a chance, you know? For once, I decided to give somebody a chance. And by God, that was a mistake. This dude was kind of weird. He was asking me personal questions, and I honestly shouldn't have done that, but at the time, I was a bit naive, and I really wish I took it back, but I did it anyway. He was questioning me what he should do and everything, and I told him what to do, and then he ended up turning around, walking away, and start mumbling like a child. That's pretty weird, but whatever. I moved on like nothing ever happened. And then one of these days when I was doing the night shift with the Rat, he ended up asking me a question about my coworkers, who I worked with, and what I think about them. This was after the incident with the racist encounter story. That story is canon lore to what I've been through at that job. And I ended up outing another racist weirdo, like way before that incident happened. I only saw him once at my job, right? Somebody was telling me something that I needed to do and I didn't even know what it was. And I was stressed out, I was exhausted because I wasn't used to the night shifts at the time. And then this dude out of nowhere just called me the N-word, not the hard R, but he still said it. No excuses. I was way too exhausted to even bother. But now next time, I'm gonna make sure that never happens again. I will be sure to let people know what they just said. So after that, I told him exactly what I think, and I thought that would be that, right? But apparently, there's a reason why he is named the Rat, because he is a rat. He ratted me out. The next time that I worked there, my shift was almost over and I was finishing off some things, basically getting rid of some cardboard boxes and putting them in the dumpster. And usually around that time, 2 other randos show up for the night shift to basically take over my shift. And those 2 other guys and the Rat, they clearly knew each other, even outside of work. And I've been hearing them say some things.
Ow! What is his problem?
Yeah, something like that. They were saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo, acting pretty fucking weird. But anyways, I just carried on like nothing ever happened, and I went back to the dish pit and finished off the dishes, and of course those 2 were done with whatever they were doing, and they were behind me. And I was holding on to this pan, and one of those little bastards, we're gonna call him Short Round, because he's definitely short. They decide to go there by being racist, so what's any different if I go there right back with their height? That guy got the nerve to call me the N-word with the hard R behind my back, and I was holding on to this pan, and I was really thinking about it at the time. When I heard that, I really wanted to hit him with that pan. So fucking bad. But I decided to keep my job and gave him some mercy. So he should count his lucky stars for that one. I'm telling you right now. I don't give a fuck how old you are. I don't care who you are. Nobody does that shit. Again, that was before I didn't bother letting people know sooner. I wish I did, but I didn't because apparently I was way too fucking nice. Maybe I should nerf that and stop being nice ever again. Maybe they'll know what it's like for me to not actually be nice. Because no matter how hard I try, no matter how nice I be, it's just not good enough for these weirdos. And oh, the holiday parties. Let's not forget about those. Because I sure almost forgot about it. This was way before all that as well. This happened a while back. I'm not gonna remember everything until I suddenly remember it again. And I gotta say, for my first ever holiday party experience, it was pretty boring and there wasn't really much to do. And it's not like I was really socializing with anybody there. I was on my phone playing Skullgirls the entire time, back when Skullgirls was really popping and it wasn't with that Weenie Hut Jr. censorship mode. Those were the times with Skullgirls, because I don't do socializing. It's not my thing, and it never will be, because there is nothing to talk about when it comes down to it. You're not gonna get anything off of me so easy then-ish, but definitely not now. You're definitely getting nothing out of me now. That kind of stuff is just never really gonna work out for me. Never has, never will. And I already know how that's gonna end every time. So back to the current timeline of this story. Eventually, I ended up having a breakdown on my job and basically told Karen with the racist scumbag and what happened there. And then the next day I was working as usual until my boss told me to have a bit of a chat with him about what happened yesterday at that time, and I tried to tell him, but he interrupted me.
Saying, oh man, you must have gotten the wrong guy.
It was just kind of gaslighting, like, no I didn't. I know it was him. I know what he looks like completely. But overall he said something like this, saying that he's not really with that, and if he were to find out that anybody's like that, he would have fired them off the spot, right? Yeah, right. But more time later, I just do my thing as usual, and I still have to deal with their verbal abuse, talking shit behind my back as usual, and treat it like it's just another day as usual. And then at some point there was another holiday party, and my boss was trying to peer pressure me into going to this party, and I basically flat out said no. I don't need to explain why. You should already know why. The people here specifically are the reasons why. You let a bunch of these racist weirdos still keep their jobs. You think I'm just gonna join in and get along with them? And specifically with how I was treated here? Are you kidding me with this right now? And people are gonna have the nerve to act shocked with why I'm not planning to go. My boss kept peer pressuring me, saying that there's gonna be delicious food and, you know, the party is gonna be here and not at that other restaurant with the previous holiday party that I was in, where we were basically all sitting down waiting for our generic orders while I was on my phone the entire time, not really talking to anybody. There is really nothing to talk about. It doesn't get any more simpler than that. So eventually I was like, fine. Obviously, I didn't end up showing up. It should be pretty obvious why. Knowing the fact that those racist rednecks were still there at the time, it made me felt more and more uncomfortable to work there, let alone be around there, especially knowing that they're there. It made me feel very uncomfortable, and that's why I just didn't really want to go. Plus, even if they weren't there, I still wouldn't go because I'd be bored out of my mind and I just wouldn't really talk to anybody because it's just not my thing. Like, the damage has already been done at that point. Like, I'm onto a point where I just don't really trust any of them. To be honest though, I never really trusted any of them to begin with because I had a feeling that they were going to be like this because of what I've been through back in high school, and I gotta say, I was right on the money. And then there was this other time that I remember where this other coworker noticed that I was playing Skullgirls, and I remember talking about it in one of my older videos, and I might as well show that off. While my shift ended, I was playing it, and he noticed that I was playing it, and he was going around saying that, you know, he plays it too. You know, that's how that happened. I just remembered that at one point while I was on the job, he questioned if I had a Discord for communication purposes, and, well, I don't use Discord that much back then, and he questioned me that, and I really thought about it, and I obviously did not hesitate to say no. And I'll say no to about anything else. I'm not afraid to say no when it comes to anything. I'd rather not have people know my Discord, like outside of what I do. Like, it's the same thing with my YouTube channel. It's not that I'm hiding anything, it's just that I want fucking privacy. It's really that simple of a thing to understand. And speaking of privacy, they sure don't respect my privacy, because the snitch, the one that I mentioned earlier on this video, he somehow knew about my channel. And he was was like talking about it, bragging about it like it's some kind of flex, which is pretty fucking weird. Not gonna lie. Basically making shit up about me, saying,
Oh, he does this on here, but not out there.
motherfucker, you don't know me. What are you talking about? And you can't be talking when it comes down to it. The snitch is a straight up hypocrite with this one. And in case if I gotta make it very clear, I have never mentioned my channel. I've never bragged about it. I've never told anybody about it during the job. I keep what I do behind the scenes off work. That's it. It doesn't go any further than that. And yet, this stalking obsessed weirdo somehow knew. But about a month ago, I made a video talking about a bit of a conspiracy with how that possibly happened, and I may know who was the mole behind the scene. But time goes by later during the job, when it's almost my third year being there, I got more stressed out, more exhausted, and more angry. At that point, I'm only just there to do my job, get paid, go home. Like, I don't care about anything else anymore. I'm just so done with it. I'm so over it, because the people there are nothing more than a bunch of racist scumbags. Well, not all of them, but if you associate with that, if you hang around that, then you're definitely one of them. No excuses. And then I decided to check my phone real quick to know when exactly my shift ends. I wanted to look at the specific time. I wasn't on my phone the entire time, making that very clear. And that's when they use that as like their official trump card to get rid of me. It was during my last day there. And of course, Karen, she's gonna have the nerve to still insult me behind my back. And I know she is. Like, I can easily put two and two together. Out of everybody there, she definitely has it out for me more than anyone, even those racist weirdos. Though, to be a little more specific, one of those racist, specifically the one that I talked about in that one video, ended up quitting eventually. Which, one less asshole. And there was this one time where Karen was such a goddamn hypocrite one time. Once I just turned 21, I began to smoke, which is obviously not good, but back then I was very stressed out. And it's been something that I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time now. With what I've been through. I remember taking a break and smoking outside in the back of the restaurant, and Karen suddenly appeared and showed up, and she basically had the nerve to give me the smirk and say that,
"Oh, you do realize smoking is bad, right?"
Meanwhile, she is extremely hooked with that vape juice, so you cannot be talking. You are literally one to talk, you hypocrite. Vaping is just as bad as cigarettes. Honestly, I find that to be pretty ironic, but anyways, I'm not smoking now though. I quit that shit long ago. Oh yeah, I also remember this one time where my boss was suddenly knowing that I wasn't really having a good time there, and he decided to question me again, saying, "What's up?" And I told him exactly what happened. He's gonna pull that generic, fake response, thinking that that is what I want to hear, saying that
"We're all friends here."
even though that is an absolute lie. Not gonna lie though, he did almost got me in a way. He almost got me, but I played along with it. I already know deep down that that is not true, because at the end of the day, coworkers are not your friends. I will say it and say it again. I don't care how many times it takes. I already know that none of them are my friends, and I sure as hell never really confirmed it neither, so you can't be lying. And I also told him about the verbal abuse I was receiving there, and he played it all as if it was all just a gag. It was all a joke. It was just a prank, bro. Like, are you actually fucking kidding me with this shit right now? Okay, if it really is all just jokes, where was the punchline? Where was the funny? Because I sure as hell wasn't laughing when all that happened to me.
Oh, but Mr. N.M.P.D, everybody does it.
And somehow that makes it okay? So on to my current timeline of the final day at my job. So I ended up clocking out and getting the hell out of Dodge and waited for my father to pick me up, and as soon as he showed up, I got in, and then my boss showed up out of nowhere. Basically, this is the part where I mentioned this before, where he accused me of being on my phone. I only looked into my phone for a split second, by the way, just to check the time, and he was also accusing me, saying that I wasn't, like, talking to any of my coworkers. I wasn't socializing with any of my coworkers. Yeah, I don't talk to racist scumbags. What did you expect? And the ones that aren't really like that, as far as I know, I'm only gonna be talking to them if it's work-related stuff, and that's that. I'm not gonna go any further or personal or deeper like that. That's just not gonna happen. And then he makes up this excuse or whatever, saying that I need to take a break from the summer or what. I don't know. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because it's pretty clear he wanted me gone. And perhaps I wasn't even listening in the process, because again, I'm just over it. I just don't care. And then he's gonna have the nerve to say something like this at the end.
Oh, you were like a brother to me, Mufasa. You were like a brother.
He is not serious with that right now. He really had the nerve to go there. I don't know you like that. It's nothing personal, it's just a fact. I don't know you like that. And you were never a part of my life, and you're not really a brother to me. You're just my boss. Well, former boss now. And that is basically as much as I remembered when it comes to working there. And I gotta say, overall with the experience, it's a 1 out of 10. The most unprofessional, toxic, racist work environment that I've ever been through. I don't know if any other possible future job can be way worse than that. And the next time, if it does happen to anything like that again, I'm gonna make sure they get caught in 4K. And I will definitely let people know as soon as it happened. Because apparently I've been too nice to not let people know sooner. You know, I would have never even considered making a video about my job if they weren't a bunch of racist assholes. I would have never even considered it. I would have never even bothered. I would have let that slide, but no, they had to be a bunch of racist, bigoted weirdos. So now, they just basically asked for it, an eye for an eye, if you will. I hope it was worth it. I really do. Because now, I'm no longer gonna be the same as I once was again. I'm no longer gonna be nice. And these weirdos love to project so hard too, calling me an asshole behind my back, even though in reality, that would make them 10 times the asshole. That would make them turbo assholes! They're the biggest gaping assholes, like actual giant gaping anuses, if we're really gonna go there. Because they love to project that the most. They're just mad because I wasn't being their puppet so that way they can pull the strings to try to manipulate me. Because I have something called boundaries and standards that they sure couldn't handle. Now, if I were to give out a tip when it comes to the workplace, if someone is being racist towards you, don't let it slide. Report that disgusting behavior immediately. Don't make the same mistake as I did. And yeah, that's definitely gonna be it. I'm gonna end off now before I really start to lose it. If you guys do enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, comment what you think if you want. Subscribe for more content. Until then, I will see you guys next time.